Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, his marching orders reforming the judiciary.
This is also based on another misconception that the Supreme Court does not care about the lower courts. We do care about the lower courts. That is also one thing that I would like to correct.
Addressing case backlogs at the Supreme Court.
As far as quality of our delivery of justice is concerned, I think the Supreme Court has been attending to this year in and year out.
And maintaining judicial independence.
My voting record, well, it is there. Sometimes I join the decision against the government. Sometimes I go in favor of the government.
But with the president appointing most of its members, is the Supreme Court a Duterte court?
I do not apologize to anyone for having been appointed.
What will his legacy be, even as the search for the next Chief Justice is on? Live and exclusive, Supreme Court Chief Justice Lucas Bersamin. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. He promised judicial independence after his appointment as Supreme Court Chief Justice, following concerns that the High Court will be a friendlier court towards the Duterte administration. Also, what reforms did he implement to improve court processes, and what else can still be done before his retirement? And later, what are the landmark cases under his watch? Will the decision on the Marcos Robredo vice presidential protest come out soon? And his stand on the government's relentless war on drugs. Let's go straight to the source of the story. Live and exclusive, Supreme Court Chief Justice Lucas Bersamin. Chief Justice, it's good to see you in person, sir.
Good to see you also, Pinky, and magandang umaga po sa lahat ng iyong tigapakinig.
Maraming salamat for giving us this opportunity, Chief Justice. You are retiring on October 18, your 70th birthday. Advance happy birthday to you, sir. So that gave you about, more or less, gives you about an 11-month stint as Supreme Court Chief Justice. Yeah. Describe to us your role, your stint at the Supreme Court the past 11 months.
Well, I lost no time when I was appointed Chief Justice of the Philippines. Ginawa ko lahat ng aking magagawa to continue. I hit the ground literally running. I was aware of all these problems that the courts were facing, and then that the people were looking forward to a fiercely independent court. And of course, in that 11-month, a very short stint in terms of achieving much, we launched many projects and initiatives, but we also continued the good ones that were already in place. You see, the court is a very collegial court, and there is nothing that any one single justice can do without the court's full support. So there are a lot of things, and the improvement of the rules of court was the primary objective that I announced. And I think we are on the road to achieving a lot in this respect.
So if I were to ask you, sir, the 11 months, what were your priorities and what were you able to achieve?
Ang ginawa ko, as soon as I was appointed, I announced a 4-point agenda. And the 4-point agenda was only a modest way of saying that these are the things that I expected to accomplish in that short span that I would be having, 324 days to be exact. The first one was, again, devoted to the foremost need of every court, a procedural rules, improvement of the procedural rules, especially one that would be adaptive to modern technology, because the Philippines should not be left behind. This was a priority that was always occupying the court ever since. And I did not like to be left out, so I prioritized this #1 in my agenda. Then, of course, I was also concerned about the access to justice, yung paglapit, pagdulog sa mga hukuman at mga legal assistance sa ating mga kababayan, lalo na yung tinatawag kong underserved. Marami tayo niyan. May mga areas in the country na walang masyadong activity sa mga courts dahil either yung judge ay hindi na-appoint or walang prosecutors or kulang ang abogado. Marami ring areas na maraming abogado, maraming court like mga urban areas. So those areas are not my worry. Ang worry ko yung mga areas na wala.
Yung underserved.
Underserved.
Okay.
Okay. So to expand this, minabuti kong bigyan ng pagkakataon ng mga law students na magagaling. Kasi dagdagan ko yung number of lawyers ay hindi naman pwede dahil may bar exams yan. Antayin muna yung bar exams. Pero yung may mga law students na magagaling na. So ginawa namin ng paraan yan after na isang masusing pag-aaral at pwede naman. Okay, so we amended the rules regarding that. And then yung pangatlo, yung laging worry ng mga namumuno sa Supreme Court, yung presence of so many undeserving or unfit or misfit lawyers and judges and court personnel, disiplina. So tinutukan din namin yan. At modestly successful naman kami dahil hindi overnight na natatanggal o nadidisiplinahan. Kailangan dumaan sa proseso.
Sir, may I cut you there, sir? So I want to understand, ano yung ginawa niyo dun sa law students, yung sinabi niyo kanina on your second point?
Maswerte ako dahil bago ako naging Chief Justice, pinapunta ako sa United States upang dumalaw sa tatlong magagaling na institutions of legal education. At ito yung Harvard, yung Suffolk University in Boston, and Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. At doon namin napansin na ang law students ay binibigyan ng pagkakataon na magsilbi sa taong bayan. Binibigyan sila ng pagkakataon na humarap sa mga opisina at hukuman with ownership of the case, much like any ordinary lawyer.
Without being an attorney?
Without being an attorney yet. And of course, these are the qualified law students. Hindi naman basta ipapahawak sa kanila yung mga concerns ng tao kung wala silang sapat na karunungan at certification. So, nung bumalik kami, tamang-tama, na-appoint ako na Chief Justice. And I went into this and immediately launched a summit on a national summit on legal education. Pambihira ito. Only a Chief Justice may call for that kind of summit. And after the summit, one of the recommendations was to revise the existing rule on law student practice. So ginawa namin yan.
And so that means, Chief Justice, forgive me, that some law students, deserving ones, tumatayo po at sila po ang tumatayong lawyer ng mga ilang kaso?
Yes. 2 years from now, mag-uumpisa yan. We approved it, but it needs some tweaking kasi may certification yan. To ensure the public, the qualified yung tao.
Your third, sir, was you said you were talking about misfit or unfit personnel. Ano pa ho ba? Lawyers, judges, ganun ho ba?
Lawyers, judges, and personnel of the courts.
So let me ask you, ilan ho ang na-dismiss na unfit o misfit?
Yung
During your term?
na-dismiss, marami kasi yung mga inaksyonan namin, may mga na-dismiss na. Mga ganon. Marami kaming sinuspend, marami kaming dinisiplinahan. At least gumagalaw. So, there are pending cases that are involving judges who might probably be dismissed from the service, might probably be dismissed because we will still have to deliberate very carefully about their fortune. As far as lawyers are concerned...
So wala pang judge na dismissed, sir, so far during your watch. How many would you say?
No. Actual dismissal for a case that started during my term, siguro may 2 na. And that's already a lot. But other judges have been dismissed for things that they did or did not do, before I came in as Chief Justice, marami yun.
Okay.
All right. And then there are pending cases that we are investigating, and we cannot yet publish them because they are not yet acted upon. But I am sure that the number there will probably impress you
Really?
about our sincerity if you got to know later on the result.
Okay.
As far as lawyers are concerned, marami yan. Dahil ang lawyers kasi, dinadaan muna namin sa pag-iimbestiga ng integrated bar. Peer investigation yan. So when the integrated bar recommends to us, we study the recommendation very carefully, and if we agree, then we approve. If we disagree, we may increase the penalty. That is what often happens.
Okay. There's the fourth agenda in your priority
Yung
list, sir.
bar reform.
Okay.
Alam mo kasi dito sa atin, masyado tayong fixated sa bar exams. We devote 1.5 years of the life of our families. Hindi lang yung law student na kumukuha ng bar ang may stake dito, buong pamilya. Pati yung mga bata na nasasakripisyo, yung pangangailangan. And this requires a lot of economic resources and emotional resources. Natawa kami nung nalaman namin sa ibang mga lugar, kagaya ng US, 2 buwan lang nila pinag-aaksayahan yan ng panahon. Sa Australia, 3 linggo lang yata o 3 araw. So, yan ang isang move na ginawa ko rin, one of my priorities. At kinakausap ko si Justice Leonin, who will be chairman next year sa bar, to consider yung system sa Amerika na pass-fail. Hindi naman ito mas madali kaysa yung ngayon dahil mag-i-examine ka pa rin. Pero hindi na yung masyadong pansin sa grades.
Points, sa grades.
So schools na lang ang emphasis dito.
All right, we're going to be talking about current issues and, of course, how the Chief Justice voted in the past. We'll be taking a short break. We'll be right back. The source on CNN Philippines, our guest today, Supreme Court Chief Justice Lucas Bersamin. So what we were talking about during the break, Chief Justice, is that wala nang magiging top-notcher, bar top-notcher na individuals, ganun, sir?
Kung ma-adapt yung pass-fail, wala nang grades na pag-uusapan. So hindi mo na masabi na mas magaling ito kaysa doon sa isa. So ang mangyayari lang ngayon, kung maganda yung papel nung isang examinee, pass yan. Kung hindi nagustuhan ng examiner, fail. Pero ang maganda dyan is yung reasoning na natututukan at napapabilis ang pagsuri sa mga examen.
Alright, so wala, matatanggal nga yung mga top-notchers dito. Alright.
Masyadong romanticized yung...
Alright, I want to look at how you voted on key issues during the Duterte administration. I want to put that up on the air. Co-warranto case against CJ Sereno, you voted for this. Martial law in Mindanao for this, and its extension as well. The validity of the arrest of Senator Laila de Lima, also you voted for this. Burial of Marcos at nalibingan ng mga bayani. When people say you are a friendly justice to the administration, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think that there is an unfair implication there. No? Para bang kinakampihan ko na lahat ng panahon yung administration. Lagi kong ipinapaliwanag na ang isang hukom, kagaya ko, ay pag sinuri namin yung case, pinag-uusapan, may kanya-kanya kaming pag-aaral. Masusi yan. At sa aking tingin, ang gobyerno kasi sometimes it loses sa akin. Pero magagaling yung abogado ng gobyerno, yung Solicitor General. Napakadaming abogadong nasa ilalim niya at masusing pinag-aaralan nila yung mga asunto. So pagka nagpresenta sila sa amin, yun ang tinitignan ko, yung matitimbang na arguments ng bawat magkabilaang panig. Itong mga issues na ganito, kagaya ng burial ni Marcos, wala naman, sa akin tingin lang, wala namang issue na malaki doon dahil nagkamali yung petitioner. sa pagkasabi niya na ang dambana daw, ang pinagkalibingan daw ni Marcos ay dapat ibang lugar, hindi sa libingan ng bayani. Nagkamali sila doon dahil ang sinasabing National Cemetery, wala yun eh. Nasa East Avenue, wala nang cemetery doon. So, saan mo pa ililibing yan? Si Marcos nagsilbi naman sa bayan. So, it was easy for me to make a decision there.
I see. Would you say because that's based on technicality?
No, not technicality.
What
It
would
was
that
really
be?
based on the merits of the argument. Ibig sabihin, walang merit.
Yung kabila.
Kabila, malakas yung kasi inargue ng gobyerno. Wala talaga.
Does that necessarily mean, sir, for you that Marcos is a hero?
No, that issue was not, as far as I was concerned, that was not the main problem. Whether he was a hero or not. They made that the issue. But the issue is not in that direction. It is where you will bury him.
Chief Justice, I read something about a speech you delivered, and you said something to the effect, sir, that you should have biases, but rulings should always be based on the letter of the law. Have you always followed this principle, or was there ever a time that your biases actually possibly overpowered the letter of the law?
Ito, maganda. Binigyan mo ako ng pagkakataon dyan. Ang sinasabi kong bias ay hindi yung bias na prejudice. Meron kasing slant yung salitang bias. Maraming provision tayo sa konstitusyon, sa iba't ibang batas na nagsasaad doon na ikaw na hukom ay mag-umpisa ka sa bias. Pero not prejudice. Okay. A criminal case. You should be biased in favor of the accused. Presume him innocent.
Until proven
That's what I meant there. And then labor. May bias ka rin sa labor. Family. May bias ka sa family. Because if you do not have this bias, you cannot be a fair judge. All right. Another aspect of this salitang bias, there are many complex issues, many complex cases. Kung wala kang bias, hindi mo alam kung saan ka mag-uumpisa. Okay. But I am not equating bias to prejudice, which is very dangerous, very pernicious. Iba yung prejudice. Nag-umpisa ka bago pa lang mag-aral ng kaso, meron ka ng susuntukin. Yeah? Yung hindi yun ang ibig ko sabihin.
Alright.
Maganda at binigyan.
Yeah, kasi nabasa ko po yung sinabi niyo, dapat may biases, but you need to follow the letter of the law. Sir, I want to shift to the case of Senator Laila de Lima. There is a proposal by some U.S. senators to actually ban officials who were responsible for putting Senator Laila de Lima to jail. I think this is still in the committee level, sir. As Chief Justice, do you think this is interference, is this intrusion to Philippine sovereignty, or is this pangingialam sa proseso ng korte natin dito sa Pilipinas, sir?
Alam mo, sila doon sa Amerika, they have the fullest freedom to do what they want. To legislate, to adopt resolutions in Congress, etc. Tungkol sa pakikialam sa ibang bayan. Wala tayong magagawa dyan sa kanila. Pero kung sasabihin, didiktahan tayo kung anong gagawin natin sa isang bagay na nandun na sa mga hukuman, hindi ko papayagan yon. Kasi ang batas dyan is let the courts function. Anyway, they are functioning. And let the person involved there, like Senator De Lima, do it in that forum. Yung panghihimasok, hindi ko papasukan yan, hindi ko sasabihin na panghihimasok yan. Of course, ayaw kong may nakikialam sa atin. Pero kung didiktahan tayo, pressuring us to do this one way or the other, that's a different matter. I do not like that.
But what is it about banning officials? Tama ho ba yun? Meron ho ba silang karapatan gawin yon? And is that intrusion doon o pangingialam sa proseso ng ating batas while she is standing trial, sir?
That's obviously a PR tour de force. If they do implement that, to ban the officials whom they believe are responsible for the continuing incarceration of Senator De Lima, it's their privilege. I think nothing we can do about that. Pero the nature of that kind of action is interference.
Is it?
Interference.
Okay.
But they are privileged to do that.
So before I leave the subject, sir, I wanted to ask, would you consider yourself one of them, those who were responsible for putting Senator Laila de Lima to jail, sir?
No, because I was discharging a judicial function. She came to the court and asked for relief, and we considered her plea. We debated it, we argued over it, and of course, she should not expect that all of us will agree one way or the other to either side. I happened to take that side against her because I was not convinced that we should deprive the trial court of its jurisdiction over her. Kasi kung diniktahan namin yung trial court, ipalayain mo yan, alisin mo yung kaso, that is grabbing the jurisdiction of the trial court. We cannot do that.
We'll be talking about the VP protest after the break. Stay with us.
Delikado yan.
You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Chief Justice, there's so much to talk about. The VP protest, the deliberation will happen tomorrow. Can you confirm that?
Yes, this is only what I can confirm. Every week, the case of Marcos versus Robredo is always in the agenda. And that is the agenda of the Presidential Electoral Tribunal. But you were mentioning to me during the break that there was already an 8-6 vote. I don't know where that came from. But the truth is we have not voted at all on anything yet. Because the minor issues that we have acted upon were only like the pure housekeeping issues, like whether these ballot boxes should be transferred to or secured by, etc., etc.
But have you read in full the report of Justice Kagiwa?
No, I have read it, but I'm not at liberty to say anything about it because I cannot anticipate the vote. No?
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you this. I know that, we can't really talk about, but have you made up your mind on this?
No. I have to be open-minded about this because there is yet there are yet many other issues, very substantial in fact, that remain to be reported on or dealt with. No? So the report that was the product of, to report on the product of the revision, which is only one aspect of the case, is already there before us.
Okay.
But we have not voted on it yet.
Chief Justice, do you think there will be a decision before you retire on October 18?
I doubt it. I doubt it. Yes, because if we vote not to hear any more the other parts of the case, maybe there would be. But it happens that this issue that whether to vote or not is already itself a substantial one.
Yeah.
I will be retiring October 17. And after October 17, we will go on a break.
Okay.
That's already a given because we voted on this break about a year ago.
And we just need to clarify this because I think the lawyers of the Vice President also are clarifying this, that whatever decision, whether in favor or not, the VP remains as VP because we're still looking at 3 pilot areas. Sir, I still need a lot to ask you. There's still a lot. Cha-Cha. What are your thoughts on Cha-Cha? Charter change, sir.
Wala pa naman eh.
Still being discussed now.
You know, there
lower
was one.
house.
There was one who filed the case before, but we dismissed that petition because there was no issue about the Cha-Cha. Wala pa naman.
So, pero kayo po, meron ho bang panahon? Is there still enough time for charter change?
I cannot say anything about that because it all depends on how the proponents will come up with that thing.
Supreme Court composition, sir. In 2022, before the end of the President's term, he would have appointed 13 justices of the Supreme Court. Ang may iwan si Justice Leonen and Justice Kagiwa. Tell us more about the possible questions on the independence of the Supreme Court because they call it a Duterte court by 2022, sir.
Hindi naman. The court is usually named after the Chief Justice. Okay. Now, whoever is the president who appoints, no matter the number of appointees, you can always be sure that the Supreme Court, in the deliberations of all these matters of serious concern to the nation, will be very fiercely independent. Kasi ayaw din namin yung bansag na rubber stamp lang kami ng executive. Ayaw din namin yung bansag na rubber stamp kami ng legislative. Our history, the Supreme Court, is really that we are no president's court. We are no president's court. I can give you that assurance. Kahit na inappoint buong Supreme Court ng isang presidente, it's not an assurance na lahat kami pupunta sa kanya.
Do you remember a time, Chief Justice, that your independence was challenged?
Every time.
Really?
Every time, yes. In fact, the first question that I am always asked by media persons is, what are you, sir, a follower of this judicial restraint or judicial activism? And I always qualified na judicial restraint ako kung tungkol sa aksyon ng executive at saka legislative. Dahil I have to respect them. And if only the most extreme demonstration na lumabag sila will I go against them. But I am a judicial activist as far as health, environment, and so on are concerned.
Okay. Very quickly, Chief Justice, coming up soon, sir. Si Justice Peralta ho kaya, sino ho kaya ang palagay yung, who's your likely bet?
I have no preferences.
You don't have, even if one of them is your good friend?
Yes, I am neutral because there is not much influence that I can exert now. I will be voting for all of them maybe because we need at least 3 candidates for the position. So right now I am a very neutral.
What is the most important quality a Chief Justice should have?
You know, take my case. Less IQ, more EQ. Kasi the position of a Chief Justice is very critical. Kung hindi siya nakikipag-relate sa mga kapwa justices, wala. Makikipag-relate sa mga trial judges, wala. Makikipag-relate. So even if you are the most brilliant, intellectually speaking, you will not succeed in this job.
Last question, sir. What are your plans after retirement? What's the first thing you're going to do, and what are you going to do?
I'll go to bed and sleep. Look at my eye bags. Really, I'm serious about it. I have to rest.
Pahinga po muna kayo because 30 plus years, sir?
32.
32
Over
years?
32 years.
Yeah, in the judicial. Okay, so no book, right? You probably won't write a book.
I may be writing because that's always an inclination of every justice.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to that. And Supreme Court Chief Justice Lucas Bersamin, sir, we wish you luck in the next chapter of your life, sir, and we thank you for this interview.
Maraming salamat, Pinky, dito sa pagkakataon na binigay mo sa amin.
We wish to see you again, sir. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.